from Kingston, Jamaica, this is CVM News at 7. It's Thursday, May 1, 2025. I'm Nika Lewis. Thank you so much for joining us. We start on the political scene because opposition spokesman on energy, Phillip Paulwell, is demanding a seat at the table as the government readies to pen its intentions to the Jamaica Public Service Company about the way forward come July. This appeal, as he insists, the monopolistic hold must be broken over the energy sector and a push begins to return power to the people.
We are going to ensure that a revolution takes place in terms of renewables, and solar is going to be the focus.
Breaking monopolies is an area in which the People's National Party PNP has had experience. And according to spokesman on energy and former Science, Energy and Technology Minister Phillip Paulwell, it's an asset that the government will need as it inches closer to talks with the JPS about renewing its license in 2 years. Paulwell says the government must express an intent to the power company by July 7, but he's unconvinced they are any closer to doing so as April concludes.
Has come to a position in relation to JPSCO. I believe that this is so important, it ought to involve the opposition. After all, we are going to become government soon. And I dare say that we have some experience in how you negotiate with monopolies. So I'm very concerned. Our mantra going into our new term as government is to give the people power. Power to the people. Electric power to the people.
He shares plans for the party, should it return to power, to return to integrating solar energy into the energy mix in a large way, while reminding that much change in the sector came about under the PNP.
Phone calls were too expensive. You never had a choice. You had to go to Cable and Wireless or dog name your supper. We are going to approach electricity in the same way. And the good thing is that the JPSCO license comes to an end in 2 years' time. It's not like Cable and Wireless, you know. If we did not change that license would be expiring in the year 2038. We are in 2025 now. So we'd still be operating under monopoly.
He was addressing supporters at a divisional conference in Allman Town, Kingston on Wednesday, in which speakers endorsed standard bearer in central Kingston, retired lawman Steve McGregor. It was a hailstorm of criticisms of the Prime Minister by the opposition spokesman on national security, Senator Peter Bunting, last evening at the PNP's Allman Town Divisional Conference. Among the claims that critical bodies in the country's transparency framework have been under attack and promises concerning crime and the economy remain unkept. Opposition Senator and former National Security Minister Peter Bunting rebuked the government over its promise of 5% growth in the country's GDP over 4 years at a recent conference in Kingston, where he also endorsed retired policeman Steve McGregor as the standard bearer for Central Kingston. However, he notes while the country couldn't achieve those goals, there was another development.
Construction is down. Manufacturing is down. Tourism is down. In fact, more than half of Jamaicans now cannot afford a nutritious meal. In fact, the only thing that is buoyant in the economy now seems to be the amount of money flowing through Andrew Honey's 28 bank accounts.
And added to that, the businessman says he's baffled by a section of the Integrity Commission report from which he cited aspects dealing with the Prime Minister's financial health.
The IC report here speaks to 28 accounts between his personal accounts and associated companies. Over 2 to 3 years, nearly $500 million passed through these accounts. Not bad for a man who at the time had an official salary of $10 to $12 million per year. But in 2 to 3 years, nearly 500 million, almost 50 times his official income passed through those accounts. Not me say so. The Integrity Commission that he appointed all the commissioners, that is what is said.
Meanwhile, Bunting contends the Andrew Holness administration also flunked the crime control it promised for the bulk of his tenure, insisting it's only recent months that crime started declining due to spearfishing strategies employed by the commissioner and his team. He's adamant that prior to that, the government relied on states of emergency that yielded little positive results. However, he returned to his folder of concerns, this time highlighting the matter of the Integrity Commission, from where he notes several people have parted ways since the investigation of the Prime Minister, some after threats of being sued. He reminds that the same government is now seeking to amend aspects of the law, contending the leader cannot face the scrutiny.
That report was referred to the Financial Investigation Division. But what we have learned, not through this government, but through the International Narcotics Report that's published by the USA, is that the FID has been starved of resources. Their staff complement is now only one third of what it should be. They have no director. They have an acting director who is the IT manager, not an investigator.
Senator Bunting maintains he cannot be intimidated or forced into silence, adding he can afford to also hire a King's Counsel and defend his views. Meanwhile, there were more calls for the return of the political ombudsman by senior members of the opposition PNP. The latest appeal came from East Kingston and Port Royal Member of Parliament Phillip Paulwell in Kingston yesterday. He says it's still not too late to undo the decision. While the date for the next general election remains a mystery, at least one thing is clear to the opposition People's National Party as the announcement nears: the office of the political ombudsman is a must. As tensions boil over in the days and months before the election, he says there needs to be a voice of reason, mediating and ensuring fairness and accountability. However, he recounts that
the government abolished, really, the office as we know it, and instead, quite wrongfully, foisted the responsibility to the ECJ. Now, I, as a former leader of government business in Parliament, was responsible for the ECJ, and they have served the country well. But to be an adjudicator in the way the political ombudsman office is to operate is not their forte. And I believe it is still not too late for there to be a change.
And despite the naming of a field officer to conduct investigative tasks under the ECJ, he's unclear about several things.
Announced that they have appointed a field officer to go there to assist with the investigation. We need to know more about this person. We need to know who it is. And we need to know what is going to be the method for investigating. And so I call upon the ECJ to provide further.
Only recently, the Justice Minister addressed calls for the reversal of the amendment that led to the abolition of the Office of the Political Ombudsman, insisting the government will not be moving to revert to a standalone office. The minister maintains the ECJ can perform the function and ought to share more about the latest appointee in the role. CVM News at 7 continues in a moment.
Should critical illness strike, don't let worry fill your head. Say hello to happiness and goodbye to worry with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan. Secure your medical expenses in the event of critical illness ahead of time while benefiting from our investment portfolio and so much more. Give yourself and your family the peace of mind you deserve with Guardian Life's new Ultimate Provider Plan today. And live secure. Live easy.
Yo, this is Bunting.
And this is Rayan Lyons. See it happen
on CVM TV.
See it happen on CVM TV. That's what he's trying to say. See it happen on CVM TV. Thank you. See it happen.
See it happen.
Your Friday with Tamighty. We'll get the fun going with React made possible by KFC. Then it's a sunrise Latin fusion. Chilitos celebrate Cinco de Mayo. From food to film, we're talking Peter Tosh Town, origin of a rebel whaler. We'll rock your morning with music and a lyrical free zone. You've never seen a sunrise quite like this.
The people have me over here forgot underwater this morning.
Hey, your girlfriend what I do in my corner office.
In your corner office.
Yeah.
We're going to a marine biologist kind of vibe. That corner office. We'll be studying the environment this morning. In the boat.
Yeah.
In the boat. So tune in to the underwater corner office. You never know what you'll find out.
Hold on, this is what you're wearing, Carl?
Yeah, man.
You come bush out though.
Bush out for the boat. God is on board. Fret not.
Welcome back. The 2025 Cayman general elections have concluded. The contest, which establishes 19 elected members for a 4-year term via a first-past-the-post system, saw the most senior political party, the People's Progressive Movement, PPM, as well as 2 new parties, the Cayman Islands National Party and the Caymanian Community Party, competing alongside a number of independent candidates. However, as we'll hear in this report by Joel Crossgill, there has been no outright victor.
The 2025 Cayman general election and referendum results are now known. Following this morning's official announcement by the Elections Office, CVM News was able to speak with Supervisor of Elections Wesley Powell, who told our newsroom that the vote took place absent of major incident, while also describing it as a success. However, as we hear from Howell, none of the parties were able to meet the threshold to claim a majority. The People's Progressive Movement took 7 seats, while both new parties, the Cayman Islands National Party and the Caymanian Community Party, took 4 seats each, and the remaining 4 went to independents, which means that negotiations to establish a coalition government suggest that the political intrigue surrounding the wealthy British overseas territory is likely to continue until Parliament is reconvened. Joel Crossgill, CVM News.
We concluded the count just after 2 a.m. this morning when we called the last electoral district. Very successful election, our largest turnout of voters ever in terms of sheer numbers. We had 18,339. Now, I know that's not large in the context of Jamaican voter population, but for us, that represents 73.5% turnout of all registered voters. So,
however, as we hear from Howell, none of the parties were able to meet the threshold to claim a majority.
We actually have 3 political parties that fielded candidates this election, and we had a wide margin of independent members. So there is no clear political party that won a majority. So the government that will be formed in the coming days will in effect be a coalition government, because no one party actually secured enough seats for a straightforward majority, which would be 10 of the 19 seats. People's Progressive did actually carry the most seats. and they're the longest serving party.
The People's Progressive Movement took 7 seats, while both new parties, the Cayman Islands National Party and the Caymanian Community Party, took 4 seats each, and the remaining 4 went to independents, which means that negotiations to establish a coalition government suggest that the political intrigue surrounding the wealthy British overseas territory is likely to continue until Parliament is reconvened.
It remains to be seen. There are not very many new candidates that are first-time politicians, and of those, 2 of those individuals who were successful in their candidacy last night worked very closely with the elected government in previous administrations, so they have a deep understanding of the way that the government functions and how that process works in terms of policy and legislation and those things. So yeah, it will be interesting to see. My role as supervisor of elections is a time-based one, so I am only in this office when we have an election present. Otherwise, I serve as a chief officer, which is in our nomenclature. In the rest of the Caribbean, it's usually known as permanent secretary. So, next week in the coming days, I actually go back to my other job and resume my duties to serve whatever government comes in. So, as it relates to being impartial, I will be there as any of the other senior civil servants to deliver the services as they require as part of their policy.
Joel Crosskill, CVM News.
Voters in Cayman also participated in a non-binding referendum on 3 issues, the results of which were shared by the Supervisor of Elections.
The first referendum question is whether or not the Cayman Islands should develop a cruise berthing infrastructure. The no vote took that referendum question by a large margin. Almost 12,000 persons voted no, while 5,400 voted yes. The second question was in relation to the introduction of a national lottery. In relation to that one, 9,500 people voted yes, and 7.75 voted no. 7,750 voted no.
And the third related to the decriminalizing of small amounts of cannabis.
10,300 voters voted yes for that, and 6,800 voted no for that. So very good turnout, even in relation to the number of persons voting within the referendum section of the ballot paper, and the views of the voting public are clearly demonstrated through the results. And whatever government comes in after the government is formed, they would have a clear indication of what the views are from the elected, from the voting population as it relates to those three topics.
In the region, Kamla Persad Bissessa, leader of the United National Congress UNC, was sworn in this evening as the 9th Prime Minister of Trinidad and Tobago following her victory over the People's National Movement's Stuart Young in a snap election held on Wednesday, April 28, 2025. This marks her return to office, having previously served from 2010 to 2015. At 73, she remains the only woman to have held the country's highest political office. In her address, Persad Bissessa pledged that the work to strengthen the nation has only just begun and vowed to never forsake Trinidad and Tobago.
That we have to be strategic, we have to be inclusive, we have to be dedicated, and we have to be focused on becoming the best versions of ourselves. This day starts the journey to rebuild our economy, to restore our security, to revolutionize our access to technology, diversify our revenue streams, and renew our people's hope, faith, and confidence to propel our beloved nation forward. Some of the seeds we will plant in this 5-year journey will blossom into trees whose fruit we may not eat, but our children and grandchildren and the generations to come will certainly eat that fruit. Our highest priority will be not just to communicate with you, but to commune with you. I will never be detached from your feelings and aspirations. I will never do my own thing while the country cries out for their needs. I will always be listening. I will be following you. You will be my priority. You must always know that you now have leaders who care and understand your problems.
Still so much more to come in CVM News at 7, so stay with us after the break.
The doctors and nurses here at Bustamante Hospital took care of me.
At Noel Holmes Hospital, we see hope every day.
And the work of STAR is about collaborating at the community level to bring about social and economic transformation.
Together, we can invest in safer and more empowered spaces for every Jamaican to thrive. Join us.
When you talk about soca royalty, this is what you're talking about. When Bungie meet Faye and Bungie say, yes, so the buck stop, you know. Were you pregnant?
Oh yes, I definitely was pregnant. I had her 6 days later.
Yeah. Well, Faye, man. There's an unspoken rivalry there. We even war over who for KFC, mother. Well, that is not really a war still.
Somebody take off this mic for me, please. Or cut the show off, you know. Or you want to come and give me on a freestyle in front of the media, a big word like encyclopedia. Watch here. All right, Wayne Marshall, thank you very much.
Look at him. I told you, this man is not a normal human being.
The Cut, brought to you by Flow.
So you're a common law spouse in Jamaica, but to what extent does the law protect you? Does being unmarried reduce your chances of benefiting from your partner's assets? What if it's a house and your partner dies? Are you entitled to it, or would his family automatically have the upper hand? In this week's edition of Query This, Shante McNeil explores the rights of common law spouses in Jamaica.
You've been living with your child's father for almost 8 years. Together, you built a life and a home. You have a child, but the worst happens. He dies in a sudden accident. After the tears are shed and the earth settles over his grave, his mother tells you aren't deserving of his son's assets and kicks you out of the house you both once called home. Is this fair? Is it legal? Should a common law spouse have the same rights to property as the legally married wife? Here are some of your views.
That could never be fair. I'm supposed to get what me deserve and then the family can go with the rest. It could never right. That will never right. Not under my regime.
5 years, the law says right now, after 5 years, we're legally married. With or without a license. So she have a right to stay.
And if me pass off and left asset, and not for family alone, I feel woman me and in a relationship for. And if any go on over the asset, then I don't have to get up and box down, straight.
Well, if she deal the things right, she can stay. If she not deal the things right, she have to leave. Family might take over.
Interestingly enough, under Jamaican law, a common law spouse can have rights to the home they shared, rights that mirror those of a legally married partner. Attorney at law Michelle Thomas breaks down what the Property Rights of Spouses Act, known as PROSA, say when handling such a scenario.
Once it is that a single woman and a single man has been cohabitating for 5 or more years, they will be considered as common law spouse. They're in a common law relationship, and this gives them similar rights as if they were actually married. So no other family member can just get up if it is that the common law spouse, one of them die, and just put them out of the house. Once it is considered family home, then that surviving spouse has an interest in the property.
So, if your partner dies, Thomas explains that the first legal step is to apply to be declared as a spouse. That, she says, opens the door to your rightful recourse.
Serve it on that individual who has put her out, because that person, I would presume, would be an interested party. Maybe that person might be a child of the deceased spouse or a close relative to the spouse itself. In that regard, they will have to give them notice that they're making the application and thereafter apply for an interest. So they have their recourses. All they have to do is to get a attorney, retain an attorney who specializes in the area of family law, civil litigation, so that they can get some assistance.
Married or not, once you live together for 5 years or more, you share equal footing when it comes to property rights. So know your rights and use them. And that's how we close the curtains on this week's edition of Query This. If you have legal concerns and not sure where to turn, email me at cmcneil@cvmtv.com with your questions. I'll help you find the people and the answers you need. Until next time, I'm Shante McNeil.
Stay with us for more after this break.
When you talk about soca royalty, this is what you're talking about. When Bungie meet Faye and Bungie say, yes, so the book stop, you know. Were you pregnant?
Oh yes, I definitely was pregnant. I had her 6 days later.
Yeah. Well, Faye, man. There's an unspoken rivalry there. We even war over KFC, mother. Well, that is not really a war still.
Somebody take off this microphone, please. Or cut the show off, you know. Or you want to come and give me on a freestyle from the media, a big word like encyclopedia. Watch here. All right, Wayne Marshall, thank you very much.
Look at him. I told you, this man is not a normal human being.
The Cut, brought to you by Flow.
With an auto loan from CIBC Caribbean, get up to 100% financing with 10 years to repay, plus flexible monthly payments. Our Easy Cover loan gives up to 11 months to pay your auto insurance. CIBC, ambitions made real.
New KFC saucy wings tossed in savory mango habanero or buffalo sauce. KFC, it's finger looking good. The time by KFC is
7:30.
Glad to have you back. It's now time for the business report with Joel Crosskill.
Lots to share with you in the business report today. As part of a meditation on endurance and renewal in Jamaica's manufacturing sector, as raised by Sydney Thwaites, president of the Jamaica Manufacturers and Exporters Association, JMEA.
Can Jamaica manufacture competitively in the current environment?
It's a mood that some say has been a central concern for the sector for the past 50 years. However, during the unveiling ceremony of the most advanced corrugated plant in the English-speaking Caribbean, a piece of equipment so large that it would take an Olympic-level sprinter more than 10 seconds to complete, the speed at which opinions in the manufacturing community may be changing was made palpable.
We answer that question by doing things like this, making investments and having our business community put their money where their mouth is. And I'd be remiss if I didn't say that this doesn't happen without the economic, macroeconomic, the stability we've seen in Jamaica over a decade.
The symbolism and significance of the investment and the show of commitment by Jamaica Packaging Industries Limited JPI, a subsidiary of Canadian Overseas Packaging Industry COPI, which on the anniversary of its 70th year of operations in Jamaica made the largest investment in its history at its 75,000 square foot factory located at 693 Spanish Town Road, was catalogued by Gary Cole, country manager at JPI.
Every detail of this facility reflects strategy, not chance. It was influenced by impressive growth, yes, but more importantly, by a clear understanding of the critical need for more locally produced, high-quality corrugated packaging to truly support Jamaica's range of sectors. I need to tell you why this investment matters to Jamaica as a whole and to you. Currently, 60% of cartons used in Jamaica are imported. Think about that. 60% of cartons used in Jamaica are imported. That's significant foreign exchange leaving our shores. It creates dependencies that can impact supply chains and the competitiveness of our local businesses. So, ladies and gentlemen, supporting local manufacturing, you're strengthening supply chains, building a stronger Jamaican economy. Your investment stays here, fueling job creation and national development. Ladies and gentlemen, let us support local manufacturing.
A vision JPI chairman Conrad George did not lose sight of, even after halting local manufacturing in 2000 and operating solely as a distributor. The company re-entered manufacturing in 2017 with the acquisition of local competitor Corpac, positioning this most recent investment as the culmination of strategic growth, innovation and tenacity, while also providing the possibility of the reversal of that trend.
We are pleased that with such international options, the shareholders have decided to increase their investment in Jamaica. With a view to boosting its share of the Jamaican packaging market and developing its export business, the new facility has increased JPI's production capacity by some 250%. JPI looks forward to a positive future, developing its export business in justification of the shareholders' faith in Jamaica as a viable investment option.
Of which there are only two, one of whom, Susan Rowett, daughter and niece to the JPI's founders, expressed delight at their role within the vanguard of the sector's resurgence.
My brother and I always hoped for an upturn of stability in Jamaica and that we could return. So in 2017, with the improving business environment, we took the opportunity to invest in Jamaica by acquiring my dear friend Howard Mitchell's business. And so JPI recommenced manufacturing. And consequent to that, we then took the decision to reinvest further and relocate to create a thoroughly modern production facility which Jamaica deserves. And that is what we're celebrating today. We're not Jamaican, but we have part of our heart is in Jamaica.
Something similar may be said of the project's financial partners, Scotiabank Jamaica, represented by President and CEO Audrey Tugwell Henry.
In 2016, when you took that bold step, Scotiabank was there with you. We saw the vision that you had for the company and for Jamaica, and we stood with you proudly and grew with you as you laid the foundation for what we have here today. And when you took the other bold step to increase your production capacity by installing the magnificent corrugator, Scotiabank was again here to support you. Any investment that increases production by 250% is not a short-term investment. It is a long-term investment, and it requires a commitment to the future and the confidence that you have in our country.
And for Denise Gallimore, VP Real Estate and Infrastructure at Epley Limited, that facilitated the deal for the former Coca-Cola bottling plant. Their visions are aligned.
We are glad to be here with JPI because JPI lives the vision that we saw of this old broken down factory that most persons would ask us, why did we invest? Because it just didn't fit the profile of who we usually have our investments in. But as everybody has said, our vision is that Jamaica has the capacity to sustain investment. At EPLI, we are always interested in investing with blue chip companies that are committed to where they are because we're long-term investors. We have a view similar to JPI in their 70 years that we want them to be here in partnership with us to maintain their operations and to expand.
In order to ensure that becomes possible, keynote speaker Prime Minister Andrew Holness spoke of addressing a particular input that has the power to change the fortunes of not just the sector, but the economy at scale.
We are going to have to take some profound measures to ensure that your energy costs are competitive, if not less than others in our region. We are going to make some bold moves as it relates to energy. So stay tuned for that. The next time that I speak on the topic, you will hear the bold moves that the government will make for energy.
And that was your business report. I'm Joel Crosskill.
And now for what's happening online.
So, what's holding your attention online today? Prime Minister Andrew Holness received his Doctor of Law and Policy degree from Northeastern University in Boston for his thesis on U.S. gun law's impact on Jamaica's gun violence. Here are some of your reactions. At Kevin Germain 2022 comments, can the public get a read of his thesis? I would love to read. At Pang_Puff_it posts, that's why the country going backwards because the leaders still go in school. At Sexy Single Mom says, Una, I call him Dr. Brogan now. At Silent